Well, hello, everybody, and thank you again for attending another edition of Running a Holistic Office. I am Kristen Ford. I am your host, and I am the creator of Holistic Office, an electronics records health. Oh my goodness, I do this every time. No wonder. Holistic Office is an electronic health records management system, and obviously a tongue twister for yours truly here. We designed Holistic Office for independent practitioners to be able to spend less time on administrative work and more on what you care most about, and that's caring for your patients. So we created Running a Holistic Office to help support all of you terrific practitioners and help to, give you the tips and tricks that I've learned over my many years of consulting to run an effective practice that your employees enjoy working in and that your patients and clients love to return to. So thank you so much for tuning in today. And we're going to spend a minute here, and we're going to talk about who's who in your finance department. Okay. And I wanted to talk about this because I hear from professionals all the time, right? They come in with some disaster story about a vendor or somebody that they've hired. And I find a lot of times what they don't realize is that they want something from the person that they are hiring that really that person isn't there to do. And I know that sounds a little weird, but I do see this an awful lot in the finance department. So today we're going to take a few steps back, and we're going to talk about all the professionals that you run across and who can help you in some level to make your practice grow. And some of these people you're already employing, and others you might want to consider employing. So there we go. So, there are basically 4 different groups of folks that you're going to run across in the finance department. We have bookkeepers, know all about bookkeepers, and we have accountants, lots of different types of accountants. And then there are controllers. Excuse me, it's just one of those days. And then we have CFOs. And my personal experience with all the time that I've spent with practices and different businesses over the years is that there's a little bit of confusion about who these folks are and really what they can do for you in your practice. And excuse me, I would probably say that the most common thing that I see is bookkeepers that their role isn't always really defined very well. And I think the expectations are very high for these folks. So we're going to start there. And we're going to talk about bookkeepers because they are the workhorses of the finance department. If your bookkeeper is not really doing the job that they need to be doing and they're not doing it well, then your books are going to be a hot mess. And you know what that means? It means your financials are inaccurate, and it means you're not making great decisions. So when we start at the core here and we start talking about bookkeepers, it is really important to understand who they are and what you're getting and how they really impact everything in your finance department. So I generally find there's 2 types of bookkeepers. There is your average run-of-the-mill bookkeeper. These are they can either be people who are just starting out in finance, and this is really a first job for them. So they're going to need well-defined processes. They're going to need well-defined expectations, and you're going to need to understand that these are also folks that are primarily going to keep books. So they are going to be the ones that you tell, hey, we bought something from company XYZ and book it or pay the bill, right? So that's what they're going to do. They're not really there to help you always solve problems, although really good bookkeepers and experienced bookkeepers will. Okay. So, when we're looking for a bookkeeper, let's keep in mind A, their experience level, and B, what their other attributes are. And I found that the best bookkeepers were problem solvers. They were bookkeepers. Maybe this was a second career, so they already had extensive experience in really how to work, right? Or they were full charge bookkeepers. And so what exactly is a full charge bookkeeper? For a lot of these practices, a lot of you guys that are tuning in today, if you're only going to have one person in your finance department, this is someone I really want you to think about. And I want you to really look for this full charge bookkeeper. So, and what that means is that this is a bookkeeper who has experience accounting for or keeping the books for every part of your company. This is somebody who has experience with accounts receivable, experience with accounts payable, paying all of your bills. They have experience closing the books. They have experience with inventory. They basically have experience with every part of your company. And this is really important, right? Because, you know, the finance department, I guarantee you that these are folks that know more about your company than probably most people in your company. Okay, so with the exception of you, the owner, right? You know what's going on in your company because you're paying attention, right? So having somebody who really understands how your practice works, how the money flows through your practice, which is really kind of guided by your operations. Is just super important. And this could be a really key person for you that can help prepare your books in an appropriate way. They're going to help see problems before they become problems. And they're going to help you prepare really good financials that you can then pull and understand. And they're going to see things in your financials too, right? So this could be a really powerful person for you, especially if you're looking for that one person that can kind of do it all. I think when you're shopping for bookkeepers, I think you're getting what you pay for, right? So if you have a great department and you have some oversight and you have your policies in place, why not bring in that awesome bookkeeper who's just starting out and you can train to really be, a key part of your business? Great. But if you're really looking for that person who comes in that doesn't really, you don't have a lot of oversight, or you need help putting those processes in place, I would look for a full charge bookkeeper, right? Or our next group of people, which are accountants. Now, accountants, there's lots and lots of different types of accountants. Okay. So accountants could be described at the level they are, like a staff accountant who does a lot of accounting work. These are usually folks who have a degree in accounting or finance. So they are much more comfortable with more sophisticated transactions and how to book those appropriately. And then there's accounting managers who have more experience and have the ability to oversee other staff accountants in your practice. So there's hierarchy, they're in a hierarchy, right? And then there's different types of accountants, right? So there are tax accountants. These are accountants that, when they're looking at your books and they're really looking at how we are going to maximize our taxes, right? Optimizing the tax liability and making sure that the books reflect that. And then there's also, there are accountants that become auditors, right? And they're a whole special breed, okay? And they're looking to make sure that you are functioning the way you say you're functioning, that your books are actually reflecting what you say that they're reflecting, and that your policies and procedures are accurate and in place. I've worked with some audits. They're never quite pleasant, but God bless the people who do them because I think that for the most part, they really help keep everybody on the up and up and keep everybody accountable. And then there are finance accountants, and that's me. I was a finance accountant, right? So my degree was in finance, and really, whenever I look at books, I am looking at them as how are they telling the picture of your story. And I think there's a lot of us finance accountants out there, right? We're the folks that want to make sure that when you look at your profit and loss statement or your balance sheet, that it is reflecting what's going on in your company, okay, and that your KPIs are easily seen, and you can make the decisions that you need to make so that you're not reacting to your business or your practice, but you are really managing it. And so these folks can cost a little bit more money, but not always. Um, but a really good accounting manager or a really good finance accountant, though, especially one that has a lot of experience. I've been inside companies and running companies and leading projects for 22 years now. I've learned a thing or two. So when I go into a practice now, you might pay a little bit more for me, but I'm going to get the work done faster for you, and I'm going to give you a little bit more in terms of seeing where processes might be breaking down, how we can better improve some things in your operations, so that you're saving money and you're getting the information that you need from it. My personal specialty is I would walk into companies who maybe spent a few years with the least expensive bookkeeper that they could find, and then realize that their books were a mess and everything was a complete and total what show. And I would come in and figure all that stuff out, right, and put all the processes in place. And it always bled over into operations, because if your operations aren't working smoothly, if you don't have the right if you don't have the right people doing the right jobs, okay, it can really cause havoc with your company, and you're going to stagnate, and you have frustration. You're going to get high turnover, and things just aren't fun, right? So those are all of your accountants. So then what I see is when we start getting into controllers and CFOs, okay? Not every company needs a controller, especially a small business or a CFO. But who are these folks, right? And why are they important, and why would you want to consider them? So controllers, these are folks who they have a variety of different roles, but they're almost always for oversight, right? These are the folks who are really making sure that your financials are correct. They know how to read your financials. They know how to present your financials. They are the ones who are really controlling your entire finance department. So they have the skills and the knowledge here to be able to look at any of the work that's been going on in that department, and help correct it or make other suggestions, or implement those processes. And they're more expensive. But I got to tell you, a really good controller that comes in and reviews your books and works with your team for a day out of the month could really make a big difference for your entire practice. It just helps prevent problems before they become really expensive problems, and it helps to set up those processes so that you're getting you're getting what you need out of your practice. And a lot of times, what I find is, especially when we're dealing with highly educated service providers like yourself, doctors, practitioners, and everything. They want to go and they want to talk to their counterparts, right? And these are the controllers and the CFOs out there, and that's really great. But those aren't usually the folks who are going to do the grunt work that you need to have done. And so sometimes I think that I've definitely been in smaller practices where you might have $1 million or $2 million of revenue, and they're like, well, we need a CFO. It's like, no, you really don't. So let's talk about the CFO for a minute, right? So that CFO title, I think, gets thrown around quite a bit. So, but my experience with CFOs, the really good CFOs, is that not only can they be that executive level finance person that can certainly talk the talk, but the really good ones are also the ones who are helping to lead the company where it wants to go, can make those introductions to the people that they want, can guide you through a merger, a sale, getting financing, right? So these are folks that can really be your representative and your executive level finance person that you can then really talk about strategy and who you bring into the picture when you have higher level issues. I've worked with CFOs on business disputes who have had to come in and help present financials and litigation. I've worked with CFOs who have guided a CEO through funding. I've had CFOs who are able to recommend or introduce you to people who can help evaluate your practice, or or even just introduce you to your next partner, right? So these are your executive level folks. And so certainly never hurts to have one in your pocket, but they are expensive. And for most people, we're really still in that bookkeeper, staff accountant area of what you need. So, so anyways, I wanted to take a minute though and talk about all these different folks, because I think that understanding who they are and what they bring to your finance department is going to help you build the right finance department for your practice, right? And so, listen, there's some big practices out there, right? You've got 80 locations. You're really growing, and these are people who they've got a full team. They've got a finance department. Let me tell you, and they've got all of these folks in there. They've got bookkeepers and accountants and controllers and CFOs, right? And they're all working together to make that company move forward and provide them with the best services that they possibly can. But for a lot of independent practices, you might have 4 or 5 practitioners in there, or maybe you're a solo practitioner, right? So this is where we need to start building from the bottom, right? From scratch, and get the help that we need. And I usually find people who are looking for that first person, I say make a good hire, make that really good first hire, and think about it a little bit, because somebody, I see this all the time. They're like, oh, you're expensive. I used to get that all the time. Kristen, you're so expensive. And it's like, okay, I'll train somebody else, or they'll bring in somebody else that's less expensive. And you know what? They end up spending twice the amount of money that they would have spent on me. And they still have to bring me back in because it wasn't the right person, right? So now I'm doing cleanup, and this happens more often than I care to. Like I said, that was kind of my specialty. I was usually brought in when somebody, would call, like when I was working with a consulting company, they called the consulting company and they're wits end, like, what the hell? And so they would send me in, and I'd wade in, waist deep, and get it all sorted out. But it was so much more expensive to do that than if they just brought in the right people at the beginning. So that's my spiel for today. That's my big soapbox thing. And, and I appreciate all of you for tuning in. I don't have lots of, fun slides for you today and everything. So, but I'll do some follow-up work on there to just kind of remind people who's who in the finance department. And I hope that this has all been very helpful for you and gives you some food for thought as you look to either expand your department, or you're building your department for the first time and you're ready to send those books over to somebody else, right, to manage. So anybody who's been tuning in for a little while here, we always check in with our little our CCO, our Chief Companion Officer, Daisy. And Daisy, she's been a busy little gal, and she's always just full of energy, and she gets to do all these different fun things. And one of the things she really enjoys doing is going to the beach. And I'll tell you, she doesn't care if you are a bookkeeper, an accountant, a controller, or a CFO. She just wants to play. So we are going to end today with just a little video of her, playing in the ocean. And, and I want to thank everybody for attending. We're going to be back next week for another edition of Running a Holistic Office. And we're going to have a little bit of spotlight and a review of how we keep our data safe, right? It's the beginning of the month. And, in Holistic Office, every month is Cybersecurity Awareness Month. Yay. So tune in while we talk about, some more tips and tricks about keeping your data safe. That's, as we all know, one of your most valuable assets as business owners. So I guess we'll just see you then. So come visit us on our website and connect with me. Always love meeting new people. I'm on LinkedIn and we're on Facebook. All right. So with that, I'm going to leave you with our little Daisy Poo, and you guys have an awesome day.